Jacob, not so much. He was bookish. He was mama's boy. He liked to stay in the tent. He was an intense person. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Embrace the Question. So good to see you today. I am happy to be with you. This whole scheduled video thing is really good for me because, surprisingly, there are very few things that go on in my life like clockwork. And this is a bit of a departure for me, really. So I am glad that you are with me here on this Bible study. We are doing Bible study with me. And it is Genesis chapter 25. We are halfway through. What does that seem like? Genesis has 50 chapters. Halfway through. We are rounding up our story of Abraham. I don't know about you, but whenever I finish a story such as Abraham's, and I feel like I've really taken a strong look at his life, it makes me sad to move on. I felt the same way with the story of David. It's almost like when his story was finally over, I just wanted to cry almost. It was like I was part of his life for a good long while. But such is the way of the story of Abraham too. But now, with Abraham, there are some definite things missing. I mean, we don't get all the details. We didn't even really start with his life until he was 75 years old. So it's not like we got a biography. So what did we get with Abraham? We get a bit of, I think, a different angle, which is God has made a covenant promise to a man. He's following up, he's following through with his promise to Eve and his promise to the serpent that I am going to raise up a seed and it will war against the seed of the serpent. And that promise, as prophetic as it was not something that came to pass immediately. God had a plan and a process in mind. And what we see here is the very start, the very beginnings of that process to fulfill that prophecy. And that, I believe, is what this story of Abraham is about. So here we are. We are about to round out his story. You'll remember then that Genesis 22 was the story of Abraham and Isaac going up onto the mountain. Genesis 23, immediately thereafter, the death of Sarah. I do wonder if those two stories correlate. I wonder about the whole unspoken question of Genesis 22, which was, what do I tell Sarah? Here's Abraham taking his only son of Sarah. Therefore, there is no mentioning in the word of her feelings towards this boy. You could only imagine what she felt towards Isaac, right? And now here's Abraham taking him up on top of Mount Moriah to sacrifice him to God. What's the unspoken question? The unspoken question is, what would Sarah think? What do I tell Sarah? And when they arrive home, it might have been one question only from Sarah, which is, where's Isaac? Where is Isaac? How did Isaac do? Is Isaac with you? Is he okay? So there are some tensions going on there that we never hear. And we know that the very next chapter, she's gone, and we don't know why. There are some Hebraic legends, perhaps rabbinic in nature, that say she died of a broken heart. Maybe Abraham had a clue of what was going to happen, and she got wind of this. We don't know. We're not told. It's all surmised by me, right? So That's interesting to me. But in chapter 24, we find that Isaac is now 40 years old, approximately, and looking for a wife. And so we have the picture drawn of Holy Spirit who is sent out to find a bride for the son. Powerful chapter. And now we're at chapter 25, and Abraham he's on his way out. So let's read that. All right, Genesis chapter 25. One of the things you'll probably notice is that I have some highlighting on the screen. This is a feature of eSword that I like, that I have not used yet for these Bible study with me's, but I find that they're very useful in reminding me to not pass over a point. So I'm going to start using those. If you're interested, yes, it is a feature of eSword that is very useful, and you can, at least in the mobile version, you can control the color of the highlight, but they only stay with that translation. So if I move over to the King James version here, you'll notice that there is no highlighting. That's because words are so vastly different between translations that there was just no way to get it programmed properly. So let's start. We're in the English Standard Version, Genesis 25, verse 1. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. Now, that bears a little commentary immediately, because in the last chapter, Abraham was getting ready to die. What happened? Well, it's funny how meeting someone new, falling in love, deciding, hey, I feel better than I did last week, get a little fresh air, a couple of dates, you're ready to go for a while. Well, that's what happened to Abraham. He's ready to go for a while. So he takes another wife whose name is Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan fathered Sheba and Dedan. Those are names that you'll recognize from probably the books of Ezekiel. These become nations and pivotal nations in last days events. Okay, Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Asherim, Letushim, and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All these were the children of Keturah. Abraham gave all he had to Isaac. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts. While he was still living, he sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the east country. These are the days of the years of Abraham's life, 175 years. Why do I highlight that verse? I think it's interesting that God is doing a thing through a man, right? He's wanting to bless the world through Abraham. It's not about my blessing. It's about how I can bless the world with my blessing. God's doing that. He's showing that through Abraham here. Abraham is giving all he has to Isaac. He's not sending the rest away without gifts. So he's blessing all that he can. He gets it, I think. He gets the reason for the covenant. Okay, I think it's his kids that lose sight of that. But Abraham gets it. Let's continue. Verse 8. Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age. An old man and full of years, he was gathered to his people. Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah. That's hard for me. Machpelah. In the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, east of Mamre, the field that Abraham purchased from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. After the death of Abraham, God blessed Isaac his son. and Isaac settled at Beer-lahai-roi. These are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's servant, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, named in the order of their birth. Nebaioth, the first of Ishmael, the firstborn of Ishmael, and Kedar, Abiel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kadimah. I tell you, these are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their villages and by their encampments, 12 princes according to their tribes. So we have 12 coming from both, right? The 12 tribes will come from not Isaac directly, but from Jacob directly. And then we have 12 princes that come from Ishmael. All right? A bit of symmetry there. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. He breathed his last and died and was gathered to his people. They settled from Havilah to Shur, which is opposite Egypt in the direction of Assyria. He settled over against all his kinsmen. That seems to me to reaffirm what was said about his birth, which was, he will be as a wild donkey to his kinsmen. Someone who is against everyone, not really friendly to anyone, not really an ally to humanity, just kind of out on his own. Now we're getting into the second most dominant figure in Genesis, and that is the birth of Jacob. Abraham takes up basically the first half, okay? He is definitely the dominant figure in the first half. It is not his son, but his grandson that is the dominant figure of the second half of Genesis, and we are there. So let's see what that is about. Genesis chapter 25, verse 19. These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Aramean, to be his wife. When you think of Aram, you've heard that Jesus spoke Aramaic. Think Syria, Syrian. What's interesting about that? Well, Syria is obviously a Gentile land, right? Naaman the Syrian, a Gentile. That plays a part in future chapters. So just equate Aram, Syria. And Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Why are so many women of influence, women of destiny, in the Bible barren? Seems like many are, right? We've already had Sarah, she was barren. Now we have Rebekah, a daughter to Sarah, whom she did not meet, but a daughter nonetheless, both barren. And by the way, will end up very, very much the mother of nations. But there are others. You've got Samuel's mother, Hannah, even John the Baptist's mother, Elizabeth, all barren. That should speak to somebody out there. Maybe you know somebody that is struggling, can't get pregnant, can't conceive, have tried for years, about to give up. Let them know. Many have given up, or were past the point of hope even, and God still used them. He still answered their prayer even when it was not likely that things were going to turn around in their lifetime. God is the great turner arounder, right? So Isaac prays to the Lord for his wife, and she conceives. Verse 22, the children struggled within her, and she said, if it is thus, why? Is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger. The reason I highlighted that is because these are the children of Isaac. This is what is of Isaac. This to me is, if Isaac is a picture in a way of us, this kind of speaks to what we are dealing with inside of us. In the womb, we have these 2 nations, these 2 natures. It just rings true a bit that there is one that's going to serve the other. You remember that in Genesis chapter, was it 3? That Cain and God got into this conversation. And God said, Cain, there is sin at your doorstep, and you have to rule over that. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about, personified. We're talking about something that will, one side of this war is going to be the victor. The other will serve the one. That's pretty interesting that this is happening in real life. This event is taking place like it is. One's going to be stronger than the other. Okay, we'll come back to it because one is definitely going to get some description to it. Okay, so verse 24, when her days to give birth were completed, behold, there were twins in her womb. And verse 25, the first came out red. Now, what did I say? We have 2 natures. One is red. I will label the other one as white. Though your sins be like scarlet, red, I shall wash them white as snow. So you've got something versus another. You get 2 natures at war. Paul says that the spirit wars against the flesh. I think Esau is a great picture of the flesh. And we'll get more detail as we get into Esau's life here. But he comes out red. All his body like a hairy cloak, it says in verse 25. So they called his name Esau. Now afterward, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Isaac is 60 years old. Now that's not unheard of, but that's pretty rare, okay? Even by our standards, pretty rare. Let's take a look at Jacob. I think if we do our research here in the King James with the Strong's numbers, we're going to find out that Jacob means heel catcher or supplanter. Heel catcher. Jacob is not the firstborn. He is not the one with the birthright. Firstborn gets the birthright. That is an important part of that culture. Probably we don't get it. We don't understand why that is because it's not a part of our culture at all, really. We kind of say, oh, well, this is my firstborn. But we don't really add any additional weight to that. They added, that was everything in that culture. And in some cultures, still is. So here we have Jacob who comes out with his hand grabbing Esau's heel, meaning I am going to overtake you, I am going to supplant you, I'm going to pass you. And that's what they told Rebekah. What's happening to me? 2 nations are in your womb, 2 peoples from within you. They will be divided. They will not be united. They are not going to like each other. They will always be against each other. And one will definitely be stronger. The older will serve the younger. So she does give birth to twins. It doesn't sound like they're identical twins. One comes out red and hairy. His hair was red, so they're going to call him Esau, but your translation may say Edom. Let's see what that says in the King James. They call his name Esau. Edom will come up here, Edom. That is the other name, and it means red. That will be appearing here shortly. All right, so the boys grow up. Verse 27. Esau is a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob is a quiet man dwelling in tents. So Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Now what? That's not really such a stretch, right? Men like typically men things. A man's man is one that gets out and hunts his own food, and apparently that was the thing for Isaac. He loved the fact that Esau was a great hunter. Jacob, not so much. He was bookish. He was mama's boy. He liked to stay in the tent. He was an intense person. So mama really likes Jacob. And the truth is that when mama likes you, all kinds of things kind of work out in your favor. Because mama, you just don't mess with mamas. They find a way to get the agenda pushed, right? They just do. And that's what's going to happen with Rebekah. Rebekah is a great woman, not just because she's the mother of some of these nations, right? But she has a way of getting her way. It's almost a gift she has. So here we go with the rest of the story, which you've heard this before probably. But once Jacob was cooking stew, and Esau comes in from the field and he's exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I'm exhausted." Therefore his name's called Edom. And what he's actually saying there in the Hebrew is, give me some of that stuff, that red stuff. Give me some of that stuff, that red stuff. So Jacob's cooking a red stew. And Esau comes in and he's starving, right? I've been there. I'm starving. Don't care what you do, just give me something to gnaw on. Well, that's what happened. So Jacob says, "Sell me your birthright." Now, let me tell you, that's pretty conniving, and that is a very high price for a bowl of soup, because your birthright is everything. That means whatever you were going to get because you're firstborn, now I'm going to get it. All right, and it goes a bit deeper than that, but the truth is that there was a blessing associated with it, and it's much like covenant in that God respects it. God respects it. Therefore, no matter how you try to reverse it, eventually it doesn't matter, because God respects the birthright in this case. Who has it, where the blessing goes, etc. That's all for real. And it can't be, you can't call a do-over once you make a mistake like Esau is about to make. And he's about to really do it. Sell me your birthright now. And Esau says, I'm about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me? What is he really saying there? Well, let's come back to it. Jacob says, "Swear to me now." So he swears to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, red stuff, that red stuff. And he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Thus, Esau despises his birthright. What does that mean? It means he did not value it. He didn't value it. He really wasn't about to die. He was just hungry. And he decides, I don't care about this silly birthright. I'm just hungry. So what do we have here? We have one guy that, on the other hand, Jacob, who is the library guy, right? He's the bookish guy. He sits around at home and reads while mom does the dishes and tells stories. And he's in that environment gotten to be pretty shrewd, maybe a little resentful of dad's attention to his brother. Why, you might ask? Well, Esau likes to get out, use his muscles, use his brawn, overcome in the hunt, provide for the family. Jacob sits around and thinks, I don't have that. One, I don't have the passion. I probably don't have the frame for it either. I don't know if he did or not. But I'm betting that if I really put my mind to it, I could get the better of Esau. And Esau is just, he's focused on the carnal stuff, the applause of being the hunter, the acclaim. And so we have a picture here of Esau in the flesh. I'm hungry. Just give me some of that red stuff. I'm going to starve. What good is a birthright to me? I'm about to die. Doesn't that sound like something maybe a teenager would say that comes in after a big football game? Just give me a burger. I'm about to pass out here. He's not about to die. He just doesn't care about what he is about to sell. And that's what the flesh does. The flesh is just like, I will forego all of the benefits of spirituality in order to satisfy myself, of walking in the Spirit, in order to get immediate satisfaction now. So we have two natures. I will let you in on something. One is that Esau, is going to become a nation, obviously, but his nation's going to be Idumea. Who was a famous Idumean? His name was Herod. Okay? On the other side, far distant relative of Jacob is a young carpenter named Jesus. So we have, in effect, Jesus of Jacob and Herod of Esau. You see the two. You see the conflict. You see the result. It's the battle of the brothers, and we are going to see it go from here on. The battle of the brothers. Well, I really had no idea that this was going to be as lengthy a video as it is, but I am very thankful that you've taken some time out of your busy schedule to sit and just contemplate the Word with me for a few moments. I really appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate your friendship, because many of you, I feel like you are friends and family. Well, the truth is that you are, and I appreciate you. If you are trying to do these videos and you're tired of the commercials, then please see the notes. That's all I'll say about that. Okay? Until next time, I hope you all have a blessed and healthy week. Peace.